Hello. Hi. I thought I'd surprise everybody and just do a little live video. So I'll just wait for a few of you to arrive because you probably didn't know I was going to do this. It's about 8 minutes to 9 UK time. It's Andrea Fouts. Hi, thank you for joining me. Welcome, whoever's there. If you have any questions that you want to pose this evening, just post them and I can read them because I'm actually using my laptop for a change. We're going to be covering this evening, obviously, the corona times which we're in, but we're going to be covering awakening frequencies, the Schumann frequency, what's going on in Leicester maybe, the mind games. We're going to cover all these aspects in a short period of time, but also in a deeper way. And those of you who know me know I've been very committed during the corona time so far to revealing the truth of what's going on to the level of this reality, whatever dimension of reality you're in. And I think as it's gone on over the months, I think even those who were very bought into the mainstream narrative in the beginning are starting to go, Now, there's so many realities and ways we can see this from. And there are so many experiences I've had during this experience. So if you have any comments or anything you'd like to say, because don't forget, everyone else can see them and they're often very helpful to other people to see the comments as well. So blessings from Avalon. I'm in Avalon in Glastonbury at the moment. If you put the comments, I can read them and see them. So, where are we today? Well, how are we all doing? How are we feeling? I mean, this is the war of the mind. This is like the Third World War and the war of the mind. There are so many realities to see it from. And you can see we're psychologically being played big time. Hi, Beth. Hi, Rochelle. We're being played psychologically so big. It's like shocking. And within all the psychological games, there are other things going on. And there are a lot of positive things going on. Now, some of you follow the Q movement. I follow the Q. If you're not sure what that is, go and search engine it, look that up, familiarize yourself with it. I think at the same time, we can't expect one soul to come and rescue us. We're not going to be rescued on this planet. We are going to rescue ourselves. We're going to remember who we are. We're going to go inward. Yes, we are in a conflict situation right now against energies that are being played out, which we can maybe rise above. We can go inside ourselves. Some of us are sensitive to the electromagnetic frequencies and radiation. If you've watched my other videos, you've seen that since this corona times happened, I had the smart meter for the water taken out of my house. It was affecting me. And I also turned my internet cable back to an Ethernet cable, so I don't have Wi-Fi in my house. I'm quite lucky that where I live, I don't live in a densely populated area, so I'm not being bombarded with Wi-Fi signals too much. I do live near a military base. I say this in all the videos just to give you a perspective in case you haven't watched my other videos. But I have a mobile phone, but I have an old, it is smart technology, but it is an older one. It's a 4th generation iPhone SE. I don't have one above that. So it won't take 5G, even if they tried to roll 5G out on my phone. I bought a wallet to put my phone in, so to protect myself from the electromagnetic frequencies. I am exceptionally sensitive since this happened, since the corona and the magnetic energy fields and the Schumann frequencies on the earth have changed over the last few months. I have become increasingly more sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies and radiation. Now, whether that's because there's satellites in the air that have 5G or other frequencies and they're bouncing off the Wi-Fi, my router box was some BT, that's become more I became very sensitive to that, hence why I went back to Ethernet cables. And in general, I feel okay. And I can feel it in the ankle that I broke. So what's going on in Leicester right now? Well, I posted a post on Facebook about Leicester. If you look at Leicester, it's practically the centre of the UK. It's also quite densely populated. They are rolling out 5G, I think with EE and other mobile phone companies. Now, from my perspective, what happens is the 5G radiation bounces off smart meters, it bounces off satellites. Now, whether your body can take that frequency will be individual to you. I think we're all affected on a sliding scale of how that affects your body. Now, I can only speak about my own experiences of being in electromagnetic energy fields and actually going where there isn't an electromagnetic energy field. Like, so when I was in Cornwall last week, I went to a spot where there's no electromagnetic field. And when I was there, it didn't feel like the sun was burning me. I felt so much better. And I literally drove up the road a mile from where there is no signals, there's no Wi-Fi, I don't think there's any satellites, and I just got bombarded by an electromagnetic energy field, and I could feel my face burning up. So even on my computer, I have a blue screen filter which takes out the blue light. So there's lots of things. We are not powerless, you know, and I really feel for the people who've been told they've got to go into lockdown in Leicester, and they're stuck in Leicester. They can't get out of Leicester. You know, what can they do? Well, you can walk barefoot, you can earth yourself on the floor, because I've spoken about this before. It's like nowadays most of us don't have leather sole shoes, and you don't even have natural rubber shoes. And natural rubber shoes and leather shoes are natural earthing shoes to the frequency of the earth, to what's called the Schumann frequency of the earth. The earth has its own frequency. And this has been spiking off the radar in the last few weeks and months. It's been going up and down for years, but it's really increasing now. So you need to look up the Schumann frequency. So from my perspective, you need to be able to earth, you need to be able to walk on the ground. So if you can walk barefoot on the grass, this isn't about walking barefoot in your house, although that will help, because if you're stuck in your house and you have a synthetic carpet, you're going to be walking on the synthetic carpet with your synthetic EPV sole shoes, which are not natural. They're a synthetic, and they're going to create static, and then you're going to create static in your body. And then you potentially will have like static hair, you know, and your hair goes static, and you can potentially discharge that static onto another human being, which could give them electric shock or something worse. Now, if you go around wearing all these electronic devices and phones and watches, and you're sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies, it's going to have an effect on you. So you also need to wet your hands or your feet to distill the electromagnetic charge from your physical body to feel a lot better. Also, copper's good. You know, at the height of when I was experiencing this, before I got rid of the smart meter in my house and I turned the Wi-Fi back to the Ethernet cables, I turned the whole electric in my house off at night. And I definitely would turn the Wi-Fi router box off at night, and I wouldn't have your mobile phones anywhere near you, you know, because you want to down the charge, you know, even though you can't get away from what is being bombarded in the Wi-Fi frequencies, you can do your best to counteract it yourself. You know, long term, you can't race out now and go buy electromagnetic paint, frequency paint, which you can potentially paint on your walls, and then you paint your normal paint on top of that, and you can buy EMF protective fabric, which you could put your phone in, or you could put across your windows if you were extremely electromagnetic sensitive. You could create what's called a Faraday cage, which is where you put your router into either, you can buy Faraday cages, but if you get a proper metal biscuit tin, it should create the signal to drop down. You could even put your credit cards in there, you could put your mobile phone in there, just to stop that signal, to make it a more healthy environment for yourself. I think ultimately, because the side effects of all this, and I talk about the book The Invisible Rainbow every time I speak, I just mention this book because it's all the research that you need is in this book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Firstenberg. So you may be stuck in a situation, we're being bombarded psychologically with all these mind games. Like now we're being told, and this is where it gets more positive. So we've got all this stuff going on with these electromagnetic frequencies, which will potentially take the oxygen out of your blood, make you less likely to be able to breathe, maybe give you Meniere's, where your hearing is distorted, you might get nosebleeds. These are some of the side effects of electromagnetic frequency. You might feel pressure around the back of your kidneys or your liver or something like that. So bear all these things in mind if you're experiencing them. And then once you get this book, you can look it up for yourself. So psychologically, let's move on to the psychological aspects of all the games that are being played on us. Now, most of us who are watching this know that the coronavirus is declassified on the UK government website on the 19th of March 2020. And everything that's playing out now is almost like a side effect of the media frenzy that has perpetuated this into a hysteria with the people. And that's kind of the game they're playing. Somehow it went from washing your hands to now antibacterial gels and shops opening and obsessed with squidging you with antibacterial gels. Well, I've bought my own that is a natural organic one, because I wouldn't be putting chemicals on your hands all the time. Because a lot of those are toxic and they're also highly flammable. And if you're doing that all day, every day, you're going to get rashes on your hands, you're going to feel not well. It could even affect your endocrine system because they've got wood ethanol in them, a lot of those squidgy things. They're trying to roll out taking away the cash now. Now they're saying there's a cash shortage, there's no coins. This is all nonsense to bring in a new world order and get rid of the cash currency so they control you. So, use cash as much as you can. Then we've got the psychological games that are constantly being played on us. The whole distancing thing may be because of static at some point. It may have some value in the static as they roll out this 5G frequency and the satellites from the sky. They don't want you close to each other. Some people say it could be to do the Face ID. Well, you can't do the Face ID if they've got a mask on. So I think it's more about the static. Then you've got that you can get married now, but you can only have 30 people there, and you've got to sanitize your hands before you put the ring on. I don't know, this is made up by the media, and there's no dancing, there's no singing, and there's no food at your wedding. So, I think a lot of this is for you to just do your own thing. What's the worst thing that can happen to you? The problem you have is that most of the people who might want to come to your wedding, we've got this separate and divide now between the fearful and the fearless, and the people who are going with the mainstream narrative. They're not doing their research yet. They will argue and defend any knowledge they have, which has mainly come from watching mainstream media, reading a newspaper or watching the BBC or ITV news. That's where their main source of information has come from, and yet they think they know everything, and they will defend that reality to the hilt. They don't even go on the government's website and read the latest information on the UK. I can only speak about the UK because I'm only in the UK at present. So they don't do the research, and most of you watching me are doing your research. You're doing endless amounts of research to, see that this is nonsense. Then they're saying the mainstream media are trying to make you don't go on the beach. They're taking photographs, distorting things. Yes, it is awful that we live in a society where people leave horrific litter on the beach. But what can we do about all this? Well, I think on another level, it's getting so farcical, it's getting so ridiculous that it's guiding you in the direction of your own soul sovereignty. You are being guided. If you see it in the positive timeline, you're being guided to take responsibility for your life, to think for yourself. Are you a little sheep? I even saw today that somebody posted where they live that their own council had put a guidance saying 2 meters, and they'd use 2 sheep to show 2 meters. If this isn't telling you to wake up and see the farce that it is, this is an opportunity for our awakening. This is an opportunity to take back our power, to look at how it's affecting us. You know, there are people who are going around barking at people. I've experienced people barking at me. You know, they see me coming along like, hello, and I trigger something deep, deep inside them that perhaps had a past life working, you know, on the front line in some concentration camp, the way some people have barked and spoken to me. And, you know, I feel that it's triggering their past lives, it's triggering their inner wounding, it's triggering their ancestral wounding, it's triggering their past life stuff. And toxically, they don't know this, they don't know why they're behaving like this. You know, everything that they've never been processed is being presented to them, and the more twinkly and sparkly you shine, the more you trigger this in them, because you're not acquiescing to their desire to kind of, they want you to be looking fearful and like a sheep, and so they can, you know, boss you about and tell you what to do, yet they might only be a shop assistant. You know, they might, you know, feel that they have authority to tell you what to do, and they're not doing it in a pleasant, nice way. They're doing it in a very nasty, aggressive, domineering manner, and this is not coming from love or the heart, you know. And so we have to stay in our hearts. We have to know that the Schumann frequency is rising. This is bringing everything in people up to the surface. Yes, there are going to be side effects. Remember, I've talked in my other videos, this part of your body, if you tap it with your knuckles, this here is in Chinese acupuncture CV19. I've been working with a lot of clients to do a clearing here. So what you could do is do a clearing, break it down, you know. Don't be fearful to do that, you know, just break that down. This is the higher heart. You've got to open this part of your body. So, you know, release. Sound frequency is healing. Those of you who know me know I speak light language, different light language codes. Does anyone have any comments or anything they'd like to say at this time? Oh, someone's saying they've got smart dots. Personally speaking, I've got, like I said, a frequency wallet with the electromagnetic fabric that helps. Someone says foil behind your radios keeps heat in an EMF and 5G out. Yeah, I mean, that's it. When I had the smart meter, I did put tin foil over it, aluminium foil. I put that over my smart meter for quite a few years. Yeah, Peter's saying even the mobile phone booklet tells you to keep it away from it. Yeah, they are. Yeah, people are being cruel and mean, and you know, it's all their programming coming to the surface. You know, we are going through an awakening process on this planet, and it does look like the biggest shit show we've ever seen, you know, and all their stuff has got to come to the surface. You know, they're paranoid, they're fearful, they're believing the mainstream narrative. They don't see that this is, on one reality, it's an awakening. On another one, it's a sheeple. So whether we're going to go from 3D over here, the 3D people will drift off over here, and the 5D will drift off over here. That is debatable. You know, a lot of spiritual people say, oh, I think this is going to happen or that's going to happen. I don't think ultimately we know the absolute truth. All we can do is go inside ourselves, you know, try and connect with our deeper multidimensional self, which, you know, you will go through anxiety. The other day, if you saw me, my stomach looked like I was 9 months pregnant. And I think that had come from the shock and terror of being a bit terrorized when I'm a self-employed person. I have a business in Cornwall. I even have a storage unit where I keep things for my business there, and I went to sort my business out, and I had someone shine a torch in me into where I was, you know, the security at night. So that was quite traumatizing, and obviously it affected, when you're shocked and traumatized, it will affect your intestines, and so it will contract because you're in fight or flight response. So when you're aware that you're going through these experiences, and you know, when you know what we're going through now is, you know, we're just trying to go and do some things that were pleasant previously. We're just trying to go to maybe just get some food in a little health food store, and someone will bark at you, or the shops have opened and you've tried to go in a shop and again you're being herded in a direction, told to keep apart, you know, by fearful people that haven't done the research we've done to know that this is complete nonsense. You know, this is not what's going on. These are the side effects of all these electromagnetic frequencies. Also, I'm veering more with the fact that it is the side effects of that. I genuinely feel from my heart that's the truth. And then you've got the other impact, which is the psychological mind control programming that's been bombarded at them. And so they're going into subconscious mind terror, you know, and they don't know. They've got lifetimes of trauma and ancestral programming upon them that they have no way to know that's what's going on. I mean, there's people washing shopping for 3 hours. They can't collate the story together to know that if you're allowed to be close to people in a supermarket, yet you're not allowed to be close to people in your own home, and you can't see people you love and care about, they can't psychologically put that story together. That hasn't happened for them. Someone's saying that yesterday she felt the energy. She lives on a first floor flat. I sense that people are in a place where they think they are good people if they believe the mainstream and adhere to what they... Yeah, because we're in trauma-based mind control now. We're being told, be kind. Well, not so much in the UK. In America, they're running this narrative now. If you're kind, you'd wear a mask. No, if you were kind, you'd wear a mask because you... Why? It doesn't make sense. If you're a slave, you might wear a mask. Of course you'd wear a mask if you were a slave, because that would depict silencing you throughout the whole of history. If you look on my page, we've shown in history we have always put masks on slaves. That's what we've done. You know, we've always silenced slaves because they don't have a voice. You know, when you're a slave, you don't have a voice. But the things that you have been given on this planet is the potential to speak your truth. Now, I know if you've been through a lot of trauma in previous lifetimes, or as a child and you were traumatized and your voice wasn't heard, it takes a lot of work to heal your throat chakra. I've gone through healing my throat chakra myself personally quite a lot to be able to speak, to sing light language. So when you have got all this trauma upon you, it will bring that to surface. Also, you know, putting a cloth or a fabric in front of your face could potentially trigger post-traumatic stress from previous events where you were traumatized, which you might not have a conscious memory of, you know. So when you start wandering around with this fabric on your face, you know, for people who've maybe experienced abuse in childhood and had a hand put over their mouth, it might trigger that memory to come up. So all these things are coming up for people now. If they could use that in a positive way to go, wow, this is triggering everything that's happening now, I don't think there's anybody on this planet who can't say that it hasn't triggered them. And I think when you see people who are saying, oh, my life hasn't changed very much. Yeah, your life has changed. Everybody's lives have changed. So please don't try and pull this brave, like, my life's just the same as it was before. I'm a loner anyway. This isn't true. Every single person on this planet has affected our lives. You know, it's not being brave saying it hasn't affected your life. It has affected your life. Every single person has been affected by this on a sliding scale of, depending on how you lived your life, how severely it has affected your life or not. And it is bringing out the best in some people, and it's bringing out the worst in some people. And we have to remember this. Oh, Beth's saying she had a healing and she's saying it's beautiful. Yeah, all this past life stuff is coming up for people. Does anybody have any other questions? I just felt to do this because I thought we're heading towards the 4th of July, which is American Independence Day. So they're bound to pull something there. There's also a great Facebook page for people who are pushing the use of cash. I think it's very important that we keep using cash on a myriad of levels, because you don't want to be traced where you were at what time of day. You can prove exactly where someone was by using a credit card, what time it was, what they spent. All the algorithms can check that and check your location, everything. You're just being monitored, every single thing that you do, which will help them bring in artificial intelligence. And we don't need artificial intelligence. Their agenda is to get rid of us as a natural human and bring in artificial intelligence. Now, I don't believe this is going to happen. I believe that we are going to wake up, enough of us, and we're going to, stay in our hearts. There is more things going to happen on this planet that are being revealed. The mainstream people, they can't believe the other things that are being revealed on the planet. Those of us who tragically know about the horrific things that have happened, the child trafficking, adrenochrome, all these things that we have researched and been horrified when we found out about. There are many, many people. I know it because I went to my allotment the other day and I was just talking to the people down there. And these people, I tried to gently say, I don't believe the mainstream narrative, and they just looked horrified at me. And yet these are educated, affluent people, and yet they're just so far asleep. It's shocking. So we have to have compassion for this kind of thing, but we also can't miss an opportunity to try and share some information by using our intuition to the level we feel we can push it with someone, to share knowledge with them. Because you can't keep giving into their fear, because their fear then creates the reality for the rest of us. I certainly won't be giving my details to go in a restaurant. I'm not going to be giving my details to trace and track to go to a restaurant. That won't happen. I certainly at this point in time don't feel that I personally would want to go to the airport and get involved in any kerfuffle at the airport. So if any of you have to go to the airport, please report back how that experience was for you. Does anybody have anything else? Someone's saying they ran out of cash. I mean, the thing is though, I'm self-employed. So if you're self-employed, sometimes you do need to use your card because it's much easier to do your accounts for your accountant and things like that. But I am trying to use cash as much as possible where I can. Do we have anything else? Does anyone want to share anything? There's a strong rumour going around, the internet's going down from the 2nd of July to the 6th. I believe, not sure if that's the case or something. I haven't heard that one. I mean, I do believe it probably might go down at some point, but I hadn't heard that one. Ray's saying, relating to the comments earlier about opportunities to take responsibility, I find that many people are scared of having the freedom to choose how they live their lives. Freedom, yeah. I mean, that's the truth, isn't it, Fred? It's like people don't realise how much they've been controlled. And so all of a sudden finding yourself with freedom is overwhelming for people. Now, I'm in a category of people who, ever since I was 18 years of age, I've been self-employed, so I don't really know anything else other than doing what I want to do to earn a living. And, over those times I've come across domineering, bullying, not very kind people. But the minute I came across that, I would go, well, I'm not going to do this job again, And when you say no to that, the universe presents you with a higher vibrational opportunity. But the problem is, if you've always been under a bullying situation, then you have no physical evidence to prove that your life could improve by saying no to bullies and to standing up for yourself. And so when you're newly going into an environment where I personally believe we are going into a period where we're going to see the demise of corporations and we're going to see the rise of self-employment and smaller businesses and smaller industries, which will be a great thing. But for that to come into being, people have got to look at who they work for, because you can't be against a system and then be working for the very system that you're against. All the people you've glorified, maybe all the business people you've glorified, maybe all the celebrities you've glorified and you've looked up to, their masks are dropping and they're not who you thought they were. And this is going to create extreme trauma in people when everything that they have worshipped, not so much worshipped, but admired, respected, given their respect to, given their trust to, when everything you've trusted and respected is going to be ripped to the floor for you to re-examine it and say, think again about what you believe. You know, you've believed everything that these people have told you, and yet it might not be the truth. You know, we're seeing the demise now in the UK of the National Health Service. So that doesn't mean there are not good people, good nurses and good doctors who are honest within that and who do genuinely have the patient's well-being at their I don't know what's the word to use, at the forefront of their mind, but they're in a system that isn't really about well-being. It's not about well-being, it's just fixing that person enough to keep them chugging along till you can, you know, make them sick again and then get them chugging along a bit more. And now we're seeing this whole agenda towards the elderly, which is just cruel in the way we're being told now to treat the elderly. It's extremely cruel. Oh, hold on one second. Now let's just see. Is that the 3 days of darkness? Well, the thing is though, right, I have had someone, Peter's saying something about the 3 days of darkness. Now we've heard a lot about this 3 days of darkness. I personally, when I went through this thing myself, which you may see me talk about in the other videos, so I don't want to keep repeating myself, I went through the 3 days of darkness. I literally was being so affected by the radiation and this ash that fell from the sky where I live and all the other symptoms that I was going through. I literally had to shut the blinds for 3 days. I even had to cover over the skylight and I had to stay in the dark in my house for 3 days. Even now, when it's extremely bright, the sun, I keep my blackout blinds down, even though the house is light, because you can see it's all glass behind me. But I cannot take that level of sunlight because there's no real protection around it. But also what's happening is with all the Wi-Fi and everything, what I sense is happening is it's making the sun burn us. And like I said earlier on, my experience of being in Cornwall, when I stepped out from that electromagnetic frequency area, with all the Wi-Fi, all the cell phones, all the smart meters, everything that's going on, and then I went to this part where your phone doesn't work, there's hardly any houses, like 3 houses, there's no Wi-Fi signal, just didn't burn me. It just felt beautiful. I didn't hear ringing in my ears. It's all gone. So to me, it just proves the point that it is about all these signals. And of course, we have the power over this. I mean, look at what I'm doing now. I'm talking to you by using this technology. Yes, I've got it plugged into a Ethernet cable. And I would suggest we all do that. That would be, to me, the best thing we could all do is, you know, start bombarding these companies to have the smart meters removed. I'm having trouble having the electric and the gas one removed from my parents' house through Bristol Energy at the moment. They are not playing ball, but it takes time. But Bristol Water, I cannot speak highly enough of how good Bristol Water were at removing my smart meter from my house. And I know regarding Glastonbury, they told me that 50% of people in Glastonbury have a smart water meter. The ones they use are not really high strength. The ones that Bristol Energy use are extremely high strength radio frequencies. There were 440 that Bristol Water used, and they came and took it away within 2-3 weeks of me complaining during this whole thing. So it's been gone a while, and I even got compensation for them digging a hole in my driveway in the wrong place to try and put an analog meter in. And in the end, I'm going for a flat rate fee now. So I'm extremely pleased at how well that went, and I feel so much better having had that removed, because like many of you know, I broke my ankle and I could literally feel the Wi-Fi frequencies in my broken ankle. And now I don't have that, I don't feel them. So let's see what else we've all talking about. I'm fed up with working for the military after I've had, but it's difficult to leave, although I'm a qualified counsellor. See, this is a story you tell yourself. You tell yourself this story and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not difficult to leave. It's just between you and leaving is a lot of fear, and that's what you have to process. That's what I help people process in my sessions. Where your core belief system comes from, why you got that job in the first place. Was that really your choice? What was it based on? Once we go in and we break all this down, we look at where the core beliefs are, we look at the programming from childhood, we clear the emotional trauma from childhood and the core beliefs from childhood, we look at the ancestral programming, we look at any entities that got woven in between, and that's not wooey or spooky, it's just how it is, it's just what happens. And then we look into the past lives and the core beliefs there, because all you're doing is compounding things from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. So when we start deconstructing all those core beliefs that are subconsciously programmed into your mind, then you start to drop into your authentic self. Then you start to empower yourself with a different mindset of who you truly are and what you're really capable of. And then all this programming that's in there starts to melt away, because we're releasing all that programming out. But you have to admit that when you start using words like it's difficult, then that becomes your mantra and it's a core belief. But when you start facing that, then you're empowered to walk and think differently and live differently. Let's just see. Ray says he heard yesterday that the root of the word corporation is corpus equals body. We sell our body with work and agree. If we do what we really want to do from the heart, we will take our own body where we want to take it. Yeah, I mean, that's all I've ever known in this lifetime. Yes, I've done jobs for a day or two. I thought, I don't like that, I'm not doing that again. But I certainly wouldn't be there a few weeks later or a few months later. I would take an experience, go, that was fun or that wasn't fun. And I would do that, and then I would move on, and I wouldn't do that again. And that's how I've lived. But because I've lived like that, and I've continually lived like that, life keeps proving to me that if you live like that, things work for you. And so you have to take that leap of faith and start to dismantle your belief system. And what we come up against, and now we're going through a stage where we call it cognitive dissonance, where we disassociate because it's so traumatic, we literally check out. So to avoid checking out, you have to keep grounding and earthing yourself, and you have to be willing to look at yourself in a very honest way and to be honest about yourself. You don't have to know how you're going to get to the conclusion, but you have to look at yourself and go, maybe I need help. I can't do this on my own. I can't see the origin of my beliefs and my emotional trauma. Someone like me can. I can read the emotional Akashic records of all timelines of existence of most souls on the planet, if they have a soul and they're willing to work with me. And when I say work with me, they have to drop into their emotional self as well. In how I work over Skype or the phone, how I work in person, which is regressing people, is slightly different, because as long as you can go into your subconscious mind, the only people who really struggle to go into their subconscious minds are people who are perhaps more controlling, to the level where they could even be going into the narcissistic spectrum. They struggle, and those kinds of souls, I often say, I'm not a believer in plant medicine like ayahuasca. I don't personally think that would be something I would take. But I often say to those kinds of people, I think the only thing that's going to help you get into your subconscious mind is ayahuasca. So you might want to do that. That might be the only thing that's going to kind of break through for you. So that's that aspect of it. And Ray saying he was with me once, he found my driving quite frightening. Now other people love my driving, and so can you see how it is? It's our perceptions of reality. And so that's quite funny. What is Bobo? Oh, Bobo is Boris Johnson. And because somebody's putting Bobo, is Bobo a force for good? I think Bobo is literally playing out Bobo the Clown at the moment. I did think when he did that thing with which I've mentioned in another video, I think, but it was literally farcical. It's like, how exciting, we're doing a trade deal with New Zealand. We're going to give them Marmite, they're going to give us Vegemite, we're going to trade penguin biscuits for Tim Tams. And then he shook a packet of Tim Tams in front of the camera. I mean, if you are the head of a government in the middle of this pandemic, would you really be broadcasting that you're excited about doing a trade deal for penguin biscuits and Marmite? So it doesn't make sense. So yes, there is a ridicule to it, and maybe this is to show us that it's farcical. You know, wake up, people. The only way you're going to stay on this planet is by taking responsibility. This is the end. What I think this is the end of, and this is hard for people to take on board, this is the end of being controlled. But to most people, not being controlled looks like too much freedom, and they're frightened of that. It's like, there's no control anymore. Do what you want. Just do what you want, you know. And what you've got is other people policing each other more than the police policing us. We've just got other people policing you. You know, they've been told something and they're going to do it to the nth degree, or you're going to a shop and they're like, whatever, just, you know, do what you want to do. And so that's the split and divide from the third dimensional reality and the fifth dimensional reality. And even today I was out with a friend and we had a fun time, and we saw a lady who we both knew, and we both thought her behaviour was obscure, because normally she would be the most friendliest lady running over to hug you, and it's all of a sudden she caught herself talking to us. And she was like, I have to go, you know. And so she was in this fear, you know, and obviously she has a lot of unprocessed emotional inner work that she has yet to do on herself, which is the same for most of humanity. You know, most of humanity do not, you know, think their fear and anxiety is justified. They justify their not seeing their grandchildren. They justify everything that is happening right now. Because they are giving into fear. So that's their reality. That becomes their reality. Now, your life can get, which is going to get squashed further and further and further in, where you won't even leave your house ever. You know, this is ridiculous. So you can choose that, because it is a free will planet. Ultimately, you know, all the mind games and all the controllers of the planet have to show you the truth. That's the game of the cosmic universe. You have to show people the truth. They have to be able to unravel the clues. That's what I keep saying. It's a bit like being Miss Marple. And you have to be able to solve the puzzle, you know. And enough clues, we're aware there's so many clues out there to waking up. You just have to put the clues together. And if you can't put those clues together, and you're not using your time efficiently to go inward, to do the emotional inner journey work, to change your lifestyle, to change how you live, to revision what do you want to live going forward, what has this experience of the corona times brought to you, what has it made you value and not value, and then you don't make action effort towards change, then you will find it increasingly harder and harder to be on this planet. As this planet, I genuinely believe the planet is increasing its frequency, and that's the Schumann frequency we talked about. So for this evening, I think that that's enough. Unless anybody's got any other question, I'll just look at the bottom. Oh, he's asking Cara a question, I think. Yes, it's like Boris is playing the court jester. It's quite funny. I mean, I don't really watch that stuff every day, but when I see it, it does make me kind of, okay. So let's just be in our hearts. I'll just bring in a light language for this time. If you're interested in the deeper work I do on weaving between emotional timelines to clear them out of your energy body, to release emotional and mental blockages so you can proceed forward with a higher vision and vibration and frequency, you can read some testimonials on my business page on Facebook and see what people are saying there. So just let's bring in a light language. So Thank you for joining me. I'm actually in the Isle of Avalon near Glastonbury today, so let's just breathe out, close our eyes, ask for our own higher self to work with us in many timelines of existence and dream time. We're committing to turning our Wi-Fi off at night before we go to bed, turning our phone off. These are small things we can do to show love of ourselves. Elamakuya, Eramta Isara Makuya. Breathing out. And in your own time, just open your eyes and coming back into this dimension, back into this reality. Thank you for watching this evening. Remember, you can go to my website, which is andreafoulkes.com, AndreaFoulkes.com, and it'll be in the link below. Thank you to those who have given me a gratitude donation and supported me for all the posts I make and the videos I make. Those are at Soul Freedom Awakening. It's a PayPal me link, and I'll pop that there if you want to go and donate anything. I'm so grateful from the heart for that. So thank you very much, and much love and many blessings to all of you. Hi Cara, hi Elaine. Thank you all for listening, and we will speak again soon. Much love. Bye. Bye bye.